And joining us right now, the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Now, most of you should know this man, not just from his illustrious radio career, but also 5+ years with the Philadelphia Eagles, playing on a defensive line that mentioned some guy named Reggie White. Joining us right now, Mr. Mike Golic joins us. Mike, how you doing?
Yeah, I often get confused for Reggie White. It's like, which one was one of the greatest D linemen of all time, Reggie or me? It's like the Spider-Man meme, kind of we look alike. Yeah.
Same. It's so fortunate. The Eagles have both two of you on one defense. Yeah. Amazing. Of course, a lot of us have followed your career. You're doing stuff with Westwood One now, DraftKings analyst. You even got your own podcast, your whole family. I know your son, of course, did it on the radio and TV and everything. Your whole family's doing the, is it Sorry Not Sorry podcast? What is it?
It's the Sorry in Advance. That's mainly because of my daughter. She's got a bit of a mouth on her, so we're always usually sorry more for her than anything else. But this was my wife's creation that, every couple of weeks, and we, everybody's in different parts of the country. We get everybody together and we just kind of talk about family life and, modern day topics, and it gets a little silly. So, which I'm sure a lot of families are used to. So it's a lot of fun to do.
Well, you look at the Kelce brothers. I mean, they're doing their own podcast and show now as well. It's just whatever makes it work for you guys works for a lot of other people as well. I do want to make sure I mention it because this is incredible. You're teaming up with Snacks for Snacks as well as Gridiron Greats, and you guys have something special going on to celebrate National Pork Rind Day, Pork Rind Appreciation Day, as a matter of fact. Tell us a little bit about this.
Pork Rind Appreciation Day happens to fall right on the day of the Super Bowl. So Southern Recipe Small Batch has teamed up with the Gridiron Greats, and they're doing like Sacks for Snacks. So instead of just snacks, we're getting Sacks for Snacks. So it's very easy, and you can win stuff, which is very cool. If you just go to porkrindappreciationday.com, you enter by picking any team you believe is going to get the most sacks. And then each week, one randomly selected entry wins a case of pork rinds. For every sack their team gets, grand prize is $5,000, which is pretty cool, and a year's supply of pork rinds. And a lot of the money goes to the Gridiron Greats Assistance Fund, which I'm on the board of. And basically what that is, there's former players from decades ago don't have the same opportunities as players today when they retire, as far as severance and retirement plans and opportunities. So there's a lot of guys, in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that are hurting a little bit from everyday things like mortgage, just going to the dentist, getting the doctors a checkup, just things like that we're there to help them with. I spent my life, in football of if my teammate's down, I reach a hand down to help them up, or they reach their hand down and help me up. That's basically what we're doing here. We're assisting them with their everyday needs. And Southern Recipe Small Batch did a great job in teaming up with Gridiron Greats with this great contest to try and continue to help us help those that need it.
Coach Ditka has something to do. Did he start this organization?
Yes. He helped start this organization. And I mean, listen, it's been going great. I've been on the board. We're getting one of our newest board members is Brian Urlacher. So I think it's great to have younger players who are maybe just getting out of the league as well, understand what the older players have done for this league and that they need help. They need help now. So I think the more, I'm older, I'm going to be 60, but we can get these 30-something and 40-something former NFL players involved in this as well to understand where this game came from.
What's crazy in getting to know a lot of athletes after their playing career, how much they talk about battling somebody else and, yes, having respect for them. But the minute their playing careers are over, they become their brother or their teammate, even though they never played on the same team. It's a great thing you guys are doing.
Yeah, it really is. At the end of the day, we're all in the same club, right? We're all in the same team. And I know people, I think, naturally think, oh, they're NFL players, they have money. Well, again, a lot of guys, I played in the 80s, so my time and a lot of guys before me, didn't make all that money. Guys before me had to have jobs in the offseason, and they didn't have what players can get today after their work is done. And they're only working for a few years, and then they're out into the real world. So we're just there to lend that helping hand to those who need it.
Now, I understand you were just in Philadelphia. You covering the Packers game as well for Westwood One. I mean, what are you making of your former team this year, sitting here at 10-1?
Well, I mean, they're doing it the way you can win a Super Bowl. You have a good passing game, obviously, but you can run the ball. I mean, this was like a college number. They ran for over 360 yards, which is incredible in the NFL. So they have the ability to run, they have the ability to pass, and their defense is really good. So they have all the ingredients to win, and they lost against Washington a few weeks ago. They had the close game against the Colts before the Green Bay game. So those can be little wake-up calls that say, okay, we're not going to be undefeated. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter what your record is, though you'd love to have that 1 or 2 seed so you can get the bye. But the bottom line is get into the tournament at the end. You can't win the Super Bowl if you're not in the playoffs. So they have everything it takes, along with a couple other teams, I think, out there on both sides of the ball to be able to go all the way.
Speaking of, let's talk about one side of the ball, and that's the defensive side of the ball. Fletcher Cox got a lot of help. Javon Hargrave was already here, but then Howie Roseman went out and got Ndamukong Suh. We went over and got Linval Joseph. And I just want to make sure you did not get a call, right? I just want to confirm this report. You did not get a call to play defensive tackle for the Eagles, right?
The only call I would have gotten was for Howard to say, hey, Mike, what do you think of these guys we're bringing in? Because I could, every player, no matter when they retire, would love to go back and play a game. We all retire because we don't want to go through February to August, all the work it takes to prepare for the next year. We all love game day. I'd love to suit up on game day, but there would be probably 2 plays. The first play, I would get destroyed. And then if I stayed in there on the second play, they have to take me off on a stretcher. So no, I was not called in for that. Okay. But they are doing kind of, you look at what the Rams did. Now, the Eagles aren't giving up as many draft picks as the Rams did. They did trade for Robert Quinn, though. But they're pushing all their chips in and saying, look at these guys. They're all, been in the league for a long time. They can really help against the run, which has been a little issue for the Eagles. So they're trying to set themselves up as best they can to win the Super Bowl.
They got Saquon Barkley 2 times still left in the season. They got to face the Cowboys again. And now this week they got Derrick Henry coming up. Not exactly easy to stop that guy. Do you think they have enough right there to at least make that, a competitive match?
I mean, how much more can you get? I mean, this is what, they say no one's walking through the door anymore. The one great thing I'll say is, though, the trade deadline in the NFL used to just be a date where nothing happened. Now, I think GMs are younger and they're understanding the value, and we see immediate impact. Christian McCaffrey goes to the 49ers, immediate impact. TJ Hawkinson goes from Detroit to Minnesota, the tight end, immediate impact. So you can get that immediate impact with the trade deadline. So I think that's a lot bigger in the NFL now. So your team is set with what you have, so they better be able to do it. I mean, because this is what they have. There can be no more real major changes. So the team they have has got to be the team that can get it done on the field.
Certainly. Now to flip to the offensive side, 2 guys I have to ask you about. One is Jason Kelce. I know a lot of people here in Philadelphia look at him and go, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no question the guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. What have you made of Jason Kelce's career?
So Jason, it was funny too. It just goes to show how I'm about to turn 60. I was at the game and I was on the field, and I love being on the field before the game, talk to coaches and some players. And I was down where the Eagles O-line was, and they were getting ready to start their warm-up. And Jason comes up to me and says, hey, how you doing, Mr. Golic? And I'm like, Mr. Golic. I'm like, that's very nice of you. Because when I did a Kansas City game, his brother Travis did the same thing. He came up to me and he said, hey, Mr. Golic, how you doing? I'm like, you guys are very respectful, but I feel very, very old that you're doing it. What can you say about this guy? I mean, he's, as I said on the broadcast, he's listed at 295. There's no way he's 295. He probably finishes the season in the 70s. Because you just naturally lose weight. He plays, at the end of the season, he's usually held together by, duct tape and chicken wire, but he doesn't come out of the game. And think of the record he just broke, 170 games on the O-line. It's the most ever. And he broke Chuck Bednarik's record. Is there a tougher guy who played in the NFL than Chuck Bednarik? But right there is Jason Kelce. So it's not surprising that those are the top 2 guys for the amount of games you play in the O-line in Eagles history. So he is remarkable. He plays with such kind of viciousness and intensity, but he's technically so very sound. So it's really incredible what he's doing.
I do want to ask you about an MVP candidate that at least I believe is an MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts. I've racked my brain to try to think of anybody that's taken that big a jump in year 2 as a starter in the NFL than what Jalen Hurts has done this year. What have you made of his season?
It's the one that probably has, quite honestly, is we were talking really about 2 guys before the season as far as would they be the quarterback of the future of their team, and it was Jalen and Tua. Tua has taken a monster step as well. Remember we all kind of chuckled when Tyreek Hill got traded there and said, Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. We're like, all right, slow your roll, Tyreek. I know he's your quarterback, but you're trying to build him up. But Tua's been phenomenal. When you lead the league in passer rating, that's pretty damn good. So both these guys have solidified themselves. And once you get that situation where it's your team, now everything is built around you. Game plans, players you're bringing in is all built around your skill set. That's what you need to do in the NFL right now. And the teams that take, like early on in Chicago, they were not building around, or they weren't using the skill set of a Justin Fields. And you're banging your head into the wall going, why the hell aren't you using this guy's talent? They're starting to do a little more. Well, they're doing it with Jalen, they're doing it with Tua, and they're producing. I mean, to have your quarterback, the threat of a run on a counter, running with a quarterback, or options or zones with your quarterback running the ball is incredible. And then they bring in an A.J. Brown who's having a monster year. You have a Devontae Smith. I know Goddard's hurt right now, but they went out and got him weapons, and he's used them to the best of his ability. So he's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm. One guy that I know a lot of people had doubts surrounding, especially at his now infamous introductory press conference, is Nick Sirianni. And really, ever since then, the guy has just gotten better as a head coach, better as a communicator, better as a leader, better as a motivator. It's hard to track guys that started out kind of with low expectations the way he did, and then taking this team to a 10-1 record.
So the hardest thing you do, especially with a new head coach, and then especially with a young head coach, is buying into what he's selling, right? Because he hasn't sold a lot, right? Doesn't have a lot of the pedigree of being a head coach for a long time. So especially for veterans on that team, are we going to buy what he's selling? And when you get that cohesiveness of buying into it, and then you see it work on the field, that just builds your confidence that what he's doing, is the right way. But man, he's an emotional guy. You saw him after that Colts game because Frank Reich was such a good friend of his. And in that game against Green Bay, when some of the Packer players were hurt on the field on long drives and the fans started booing, and Nick was thinking they were doing that on purpose, which they might have been. Hell, we did it, way back when. If we needed a break, you stay down, act like you got a cramp. Who's going to prove you didn't? But Nick is looking over at LaFleur and yelling at him. I mean, he is an emotional dude without question. So you wonder over time if that will tamper down a little bit. But players got to love it. The players know he has their back. So it's been a great situation.
My last thing for you, I know now I was kidding about the defensive tackle stuff, but I'm serious about this. There were rumors about you possibly coming to Philadelphia in more of a long-term basis to talk to us on the radio. I know people love your brilliance surrounding their teams every day. Was there any truth to that? Any knocks on the door, anything like that about you coming to Philly in a radio capacity?
There was not. And when I saw that out there, I thought I better jump in here. I don't need that to keep going. No, there was not. So I tweeted to whoever, I forgot which media
Crossing Broad, I believe. Yeah.
And I said, no. I said that's not going to happen. So we can just nip that one in the bud. That would have been interesting. I mean, listen, I grew up when I was playing there. I mean, Angelo Cataldi was doing his thing, and I mean, he did it for a long time. Then I ended up doing it for a long time nationally at ESPN. I loved doing it. I would probably, under the right circumstances, maybe get back into it again. Though a 4:15 wake-up call isn't the greatest thing in the world, that I've gotten used to not doing it now, but I certainly would look at every opportunity.
Mike, well, listen, man, any opportunity to listen to you is a great opportunity, so I can at least tell you that. And what you're doing right now, again, with Gridiron Greats is absolutely fantastic. All the work you're doing right there, and of course, right now as well with National Pork Rind Appreciation Day. We'll be sure to put the link on the show so people can check it out and try to win themselves $5,000.
There's nothing wrong with that, right? Everybody could use that.
Nothing wrong at all. Mike Golic joining us right there on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line. Mike, thanks so much.
You got it.